In just 41 seconds, 20 buried names would surface. Massie didn't shout. He didn't grandstand. He simply opened a classified folder. Cameras zoomed in on Patel's face. The room froze like a tomb. What did the Kentucky congressman reveal that made America's most powerful FBI director look like a caught criminal? At exactly 2:47 p.m., Representative Thomas Massie walked into the House Judiciary Committee hearing room like a man who had solved a puzzle everyone else was pretending didn't exist. His weathered hands carried a single manila folder, unmarked, unremarkable, yet somehow radiating menace. Kash Patel sat across the mahogany table like a director who had never faced real accountability. His navy suit was pressed to perfection, FBI pin gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights. But there was something in his eyes, a flicker of uncertainty that the cameras would later replay in slow motion. Director Patel, Massie began, his Kentucky drawl cutting through the tension. You testified under oath that the FBI has been transparent about the Epstein investigation files. That's correct, Congressman. Patel's voice carried the practiced confidence of a man who'd survived Washington's deadliest interrogations. His knuckles, however, told a different story, white against the dark wood. The mystery builds. What nobody in that room realized was that Massie had spent 3 sleepless nights cross-referencing FBI case files with congressional subpoenas. 3 nights discovering what 20 powerful Americans thought they'd buried forever. But let me take you back to where this really began. 3 nights of investigation had led to this moment. Massie discovered missing page numbers in FBI files. Document 847 jumped from page 3 to page 67. 63 pages gone from Epstein case files. His investigator Sarah found the breakthrough. Backup server files they thought were deleted. 20 names, 20 officials who visited Epstein Island, all buried under classification stamps signed by Kash Patel personally. By morning, Massie had received 3 threatening calls warning him to drop the investigation. He deleted the voicemails and headed to Capitol Hill. Now, back in that hearing room at 2:47 p.m., every reporter could sense something explosive was coming. Massie's reputation wasn't built on grandstanding. When Thomas Massie brought files to a hearing, people got indicted. Patel had walked in, confident. His morning briefing assured him this was routine oversight. No one warned him about missing page numbers or backup servers or the fact that a Kentucky congressman had spent 3 days unraveling the FBI's most carefully guarded secret. Then, explain this. Massie's folder opened with the soft whisper of paper against paper. The chamber held its breath. 4 seconds of silence. Cameras capturing every micro-expression. Patel's jaw clenched almost imperceptibly. What you're holding appears to be— What I'm holding, Massie interrupted, is FBI case file 21847 GA, sealed, classified, and according to your testimony, non-existent. The folder's contents remained hidden, but something in Massie's tone made every reporter lean forward. You could hear the collective intake of breath. Patel's face drained of color. Congressman, there are protocols. There are protocols for honesty, Director. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. In the press gallery, phones buzzed with breaking news alerts. But Massie had learned timing was everything. Rush the revelation, and Patel could spin it. This had to be surgical. Before we discuss what's in this file, Director, let me ask you about Agent Rebecca Torres. Patel's eyes flickered, barely perceptible, but the cameras caught it. His media training kicked in, the practiced smile, the calculated pause, but something was different this time. His usual confidence seemed forced, artificial. Agent Torres is terrified. Massie's voice cut through the doublespeak. She came to my office yesterday. Walked in, shaking, clutching a coffee cup like her life depended on it. Do you know what she told me about Operation Island Watch? The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Even veteran reporters who'd covered decades of congressional hearings could sense this was different. This wasn't political theater, this was a reckoning. At exactly 2:48 p.m., 41 seconds after Massie opened that folder, everything changed. 20 names, Director, 20 individuals who visited Epstein Island between 2019 and his death. 20 names your FBI has buried deeper than a pharaoh's tomb. Patel's hands trembling now, visible even to the C-SPAN cameras. That information is classified for ongoing. Ongoing what? Massie's voice rose for the first time. Ongoing cover-up? Because according to this document, signed by you personally, these files were ordered destroyed. The room erupted. Flash bulbs strobing like lightning. Reporters shouting questions that would never be answered. But in that chaos, only two men mattered. The congressman who'd found the truth and the FBI director whose carefully constructed world was collapsing in real time. I never ordered any files destroyed, Patel stammered, but his voice carried the hollow ring of a caught liar. Then explain your signature on document 847. Massie held up a single page, redacted, official, damning. Dated 3 days after you took office. Silence. 6 seconds that felt like eternity. Patel's mouth opened, closed. No words emerged. But Massie wasn't finished. He'd learned Patel's weakness during his investigation. The desperate need to appear in control. Strip that away, and the FBI director would crumble. Director, let me read you something. Massie pulled out a second document. Internal FBI memo. January 15th, 2025. Quote, all materials related to Operation Island Watch are to be indefinitely classified. Any agent discussing these materials with congressional oversight will face immediate termination. End quote. Patel's breathing became visibly shallow. That memo was sent to 47 FBI agents, 17 requested transfers, 8 filed whistleblower complaints. Want to guess how many came forward when they realized Congress was investigating? A pause that stretched like a tightrope. All of them, Director, every single one. At exactly 2:49 p.m., Massie delivered the psychological kill shot. Agent Rebecca Torres, 22-year veteran, Bronze Star recipient, mother of 3. She was the lead investigator on the Epstein trafficking network. Want to know what she told my office yesterday? Patel's hands gripped the table edge, his knuckles white as bone. She said, you personally ordered her to stop following financial transfers from Epstein's accounts to sitting members of Congress. She said, you told her that some investigations are too dangerous for democracy. She said, you threatened her pension if she continued. The room was dead silent, except for the mechanical whir of cameras capturing every micro-expression of a powerful man's public destruction. Is Agent Torres lying, Director? Patel's voice cracked. Agent Torres was reassigned for doing her job? Massie's voice rose like thunder. For following evidence wherever it led, for believing that justice doesn't stop at party lines or political convenience. Let me tell you about the cost of your cover-up, Director. Massie's voice dropped to a whisper that carried more force than shouting. 3 FBI agents requested early retirement. 2 developed stress-related health issues. Agent Torres has been receiving death threats since cooperating with oversight. Patel tried to speak, but Massie was relentless. And the victims, Director? The women trafficked to that island? They thought justice was coming. You stole that from them. You buried their chance at accountability under classification stamps. Tears were visible in Massie's eyes, not of weakness, but of righteous fury. How do you sleep at night? Within minutes, Twitter exploded. Patel files trending nationwide. Fox News cut their regular programming. CNN nans stammering through breaking news alerts they weren't prepared to deliver. The truth was spreading faster than Patel could contain it. Director, Massie continued, his voice now carrying the surgical precision of a man dissecting a lie. Did you or did you not personally order the burial of evidence linking sitting senators to Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking operation? Patel's composure shattered like glass. The classification levels, national security implications, words tumbling out without coherence, without the practiced smoothness that had carried him through hundreds of hostile interviews. That's a yes, Massie stated simply. At 2:51 p.m., Massie revealed the first name. Senator Patricia Williams of Oregon. 11 documented visits to Little St. James Island. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Williams, chair of the Senate Ethics Committee. The irony was suffocating. At 2:52 p.m., the second name. Congressman David Chen of California. 7 visits, including one lasting 6 days. Patel's breathing became audibly labored. Sweat beaded on his upper lip, despite the air conditioning running at full blast. Director, are you feeling all right? Massie's voice carried mock concern. Should we take a recess? No, I'm fine. Continue. Judge Margaret Foster, Eastern District of Virginia, the same judge who sealed the original Epstein indictments. 4 visits, 3 after she was confirmed to the federal bench. A female reporter in the front row audibly gasped. Foster had just been nominated for the Supreme Court. At 2:53 p.m., Massie delivered the killing blow. And Director, the 20th name on your buried list. He paused, letting the moment stretch like a taut wire. His eyes never left Patel's face as color drained from it completely. Your predecessor, Christopher Wray. The silence that followed wasn't just quiet, it was the sound of an entire political system realizing it had been built on lies. The room exploded in chaos, shouting, camera flashes, the sound of political careers ending in real time. Patel stood abruptly, his chair toppling backward. This hearing is over. No, Director, Massie called after him, his voice cutting through the mayhem. Your cover-up is over. Within an hour, protest crowds gathered outside FBI headquarters. Within 2 hours, Resign Patel was trending globally. Within 3 hours, 3 senators had announced they wouldn't seek re-election. But the real earthquake was just beginning. CN replayed Patel's breakdown in slow motion. Fox News, surprisingly, wasn't defending him. Even MSNBC couldn't deny Massie's evidence. Press Secretary Julia Morrison faced reporters. Did the president know about Director Patel's decision to bury the Epstein files? Her 4-second pause said everything. The briefing ended after 12 minutes instead of the usual 45. Senator Dick Durbin, Director Patel must resign immediately. Even Senator Lindsey Graham, typically a fierce defender of executive authority. If these allegations are true, this represents a betrayal of everything the FBI stands for. When Lindsey Graham abandons you, it's over. FBI agents across the country began reaching out to congressional offices. Agent Sarah Chen in Los Angeles. Congressman, there are more files. How deep do you want to go? Agent Rebecca Torres held a press conference outside FBI headquarters. For 22 years, I believed in the Bureau. Today, I resign rather than participate in this cover-up. 17 other agents stood behind her. The FBI was eating itself alive. In his darkened office, Massie's phone buzzed constantly. Reporters' death threats, thank you messages. Then, a secure email arrived. Anonymous sender. Subject, The Other Island. Part. Attached were photographs, financial records, flight manifests, to a second location where the trafficking network had moved after Epstein's death. The message, Congressman, you've exposed the cover-up. Now, expose the continuation. Massie realized everything revealed today was just the beginning. He reached for his phone to call Sarah. There would be no rest until every perpetrator faced justice. The truth has a way of spreading, even when buried under mountains of classified stamps and official denials. As Massie sat in his office that evening, watching news coverage of Patel's hasty resignation, he feckled on a simple truth. Sometimes the most powerful weapon in Washington isn't money or connections. Sometimes it's just a Kentucky congressman who isn't afraid to tell the truth. Sometimes it's just a Kentucky congressman who isn't afraid to tell the truth. The weight of what he'd unleashed was crushing. His phone showed 347 missed calls. Outside his window, protesters held candles for trafficking victims whose names might never be known. The Epstein files were finally open. 20 names were public. Justice felt possible. Sarah knocked softly. "Congressman, the victims' advocacy groups want to meet tomorrow. The survivors are ready to tell their stories." Massie nodded, throat tight with emotion. "Schedule it, and Sarah, make sure security is tight." As she left, Massie stared at the still classified documents on his desk. The banking records, the foreign accounts, the protection network that went deeper than anyone imagined. His wife Linda called. "Tom, are you okay? The news is saying you might have brought down the entire administration." "I just read what was in the files, Linda. I just told the truth. But at what cost? They're already trying to discredit you, calling you a conspiracy theorist." Massie looked at the anonymous email still glowing on his screen. The other island? Part. The cost of silence would have been higher. This was just the beginning. But this story raises uncomfortable questions. How many other files are buried? How many other powerful people are protected by classification stamps and official silence? And most importantly, if one congressman with one folder could expose this much corruption in 41 seconds, what other truths are hiding in plain sight? What would you do if you had evidence this explosive? The choice between silence and truth is never easy. But as Thomas Massie proved, sometimes one person with courage can change everything.